Hey everyone, I'm sorry in advance for the glare. You're just gonna have to deal with it. So I see a lot of these video response videos floating around. I guess I've done one or two in the past myself, but uh, usually I see them and think I need to do one of those. I have ideas for what I would do. I think about all the cards I'd get together, and then I just never end up doing it for lack of time or whatever other reasons. One thing I've been missing since we moved here is some quiet space of my own where I could reliably set up and record without, capturing noise from kids banging around the house or, people knocking on the door or flushing toilets, what have you. This room that we're in now is my new office. It's the upper level of a portion of a barn on our property that my father and I have renovated, and downstairs is workshop, upstairs office space, and not much in here yet, but it's going to be sort of man cave also. TV on the wall, collectibles hanging around, couch. But it's finally some space that I can actually use to get away and record a video once in a while. So I think that should be a little easier. In addition to this card related channel, I got my start doing machining videos, home shop machinist, and I'm looking forward to getting back into those as well. But for the purposes of this channel here, I thought a good first video from the new space would be a video response for Boggs Fan, John, if we're using government names. And I guess it's favorite card, and I was a little unsure at first because I'm thinking to myself, well, favorite in which way, favorite looking card or or what. But John mentioned something about the card you would never sell, a card you'd take with you to the grave, and that kind of settled it for me because there is one. There's definitely one, and everybody's going to have their own criteria. Probably a lot of the cards are going to have very sentimental, emotional connection, which makes sense. But I went through a lot of thought and a lot of cards before it dawned on me clearly which one I would be last to part with. I know that Dylan Double D Vintage talked about some cards that were, favorite pack pulls from back in the day, and I got out a bunch of those. I had a spell in the 90s, late 90s, I guess. Brief resurgence into the hobby for a year or two, and I bought unopened 80s wax from Mark Murphy, if anybody out there remembers him, the baseball card kid. I bought in particular a box of 84 tops, 83 Fleer, and a cello box of 1980 tops. And those weren't all at the same time, but over the course of about a year or so. And I pulled the Mattingly from the 84 tops, which was definitely cool because back in the day, as a kid, this is one that always eluded me. The 83 Fleer wax box, I guess I got a well collated one because I ended up with all three Hall of Fame rookie cards. I think for future videos I'm going to have to get a light behind the phone here because these are all looking kind of blue, I think, from the color of the walls behind it. So sorry about that, but I think you get the idea. I can't remember if 82 tops was in the list that I mentioned, but I did buy a box of 82 tops and did get the Ripken. And that cello box of 80 tops And I thought it was expensive at the time. Um, I looked at what they're going for now, and a whole different stratosphere. But I pulled 3 of the Rickey Henderson rookie cards out of that box, and kept this one, which I thought was the best example of the bunch. The thing about those is, yeah, it's cool that I pulled them from packs myself, but they still can all be replaced very easily. They don't have real significant emotional attachment for me. The fact that I pulled them myself is cool, but it's more about the fact that I did it rather than the actual card. You know, I like that I have them, but I wouldn't be heartbroken to let them go. And they certainly wouldn't be the last ones that I would let go. There's also favorite designs to consider. Like, is it my favorite vintage card? My favorite junk wax era card? My favorite modern card? Again, all very easily replaceable. There's nothing rare about them at all. And again, there's no emotional attachment to these copies of the card. It's just, you know, I got an 83 traded Darryl Strawberry here. It doesn't matter to me whether I have this copy of it or another one. I still think it's my favorite looking 80s card, regardless of which copy I'm actually holding. Then I got to thinking, well, maybe the oldest card in my collection, 1878 Huntley and Palmer's. Again, no real emotional attachment. It's a cool card, and it was kind of a pain in the butt to find, but they're not what I would consider real rare. I think most of the time you can go on eBay and find one. Cards with emotional connections, though, now we're starting to get into some, you know, these were some pretty strong maybes, because I've got 2 cards in particular from my childhood collection that have some sentimental meaning for me, and one of them is the 79 Topps Ozzie Smith that was the cornerstone of my childhood collection. I got lucky and ended up with this early on in my childhood collecting and managed to keep it in pretty decent shape. And this is an awesome card that this actual copy of it does mean a little bit to me because it came from my childhood collection. And this one as well, this is the first vintage card I remember buying as a kid. You know, saved up a whole bunch for it, and it's really rough and beat up. It's this card that inspired me to put together the Ernie Banks collection that I'm still working on. You know, his whole run from his playing days, but all of them have to be, you know, really beat up condition. And again, you know, that specific copy of that card is the reason I like it. Then there's a couple other cards that have some sentimental meaning from childhood. Of course, the Tom Seaver rookie that I've talked about several times before, that one's important to me due to just a connection to a friend of mine who's no longer with us. And the 87 Fleer Will Clark, when I was a kid, I had this card, and you know, at the time Beckett said it was worth 35 bucks or something like that. And I had a sleepover, and the day after the sleepover I couldn't find the card. It, you know, got stolen or lost or who knows. I always thought one particular kid stole it, but who knows. This card, it obviously isn't that copy of it, and this Seaver rookie obviously is not a copy from my childhood. So even though there's an emotional, sentimental attachment, it's not to these specific copies. Now we're into rare stuff. Stuff that I would part with last simply because it would be so difficult to replace. And that I wasn't even sure about at first, because the first one that jumps to mind is the 82 Team Photo Sure Holes. And this one was a pain to find. I've seen a couple of them for sale, including this one. SGC has graded 2, including this one. I think PSA is graded, 15 or something like that. In a couple of years, I did manage to find it, so maybe it's scarce. I'm not sure I'd call it rare. And then I got to thinking about, well, what about my cricket stuff? Do I have anything in there? And I realized that this 1877 Lily Whites that has this WG Grace pasted into it from the factory or bookbindery or whatever. This technically is a photo, not a card. But these aren't exactly growing on trees, especially if you want that photo still mounted in the original book. I've never seen another one for sale. I guess they're out there, but it's a fairly rare item. And then I came across, while I was flipping through cards, something that is also not a card, but once I saw it, I realized that's the one that I would have to give up last, because I will literally never find another one. And that is the Magic Lantern slide that I've shown before. I'm going to have to show an overlay or inset here with magic editing so that you can actually see this, because it's a slide, as I said. I've shown this and talked about it before, and it's, I guess, not a card because it's made of glass, 2 sheets of glass with like photo emulsion sandwiched in between. I still haven't figured out exactly what the deal with this thing is. I believe it's from 1899 or 1900, and it's clearly at least part of a Coco advertisement, which kind of fits in with my food collecting thing as well, food card collecting. But I just lucked into this on a random estate auction someplace in Florida, and had no idea that even existed. It's an image of Grace from his playing days. I guess the slide itself would be from the very tail end of his playing days. The Magic Lantern slides in general aren't all that scarce. You can go on eBay and find them all over the place, but I would certainly call this the rarest item in my collection, and I don't care who you are, this is straight up rare by I think anyone's definition. Even John Mangini would call this rare, I would think. I'm not going to be one bit surprised if I go the rest of my life and never encounter another one of these things. So that's it. That's my one card. It feels weird calling it my favorite, but I'll go ahead and say it's the last card that would be pried out of my hands, even though it's not technically a card. And it's kind of the logic behind it. Well, that's all I have for now. I'm not really set up to show pickups or anything since the last time I've done a pickup video. It's definitely been a while, and I've picked up a lot of stuff. But for now, just wanted to get this video response out of the way. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.